So Uvent is an automatically updating service which helps you find events near you.
Our service is centered around our Alexa skill, with peripheral interfaces such as a web app and a publicly exposed API to find and create events.
And to start off, we'll be showing off our Alexa skill.
Alexa, ask Uvent what is happening today.
There are 10 events I could find. Some interesting ones are 1. March, Book 3 Trivia Night, 2. Power Granola Bar, and 3. Labyrinth Lights. Which one sounds interesting to you?
Can you tell me about the third one?
The description of the event named Labyrinth Lights is treat yourself to a meditative labyrinth walk by candlelight, then come indoors for a cup of hot cider and cookies. From 5 to 5:15 p.m., there will be an interfaith lighting ceremony. Come join us for a relaxing night.
What time is that?
Labyrinth Light starts at 9:30 p.m.
Thank you, goodbye.
Talk to you later.
We also built a front-end web interface, as you can see here, and this allows people without Alexas to be able to see events. And you can click the See Events button, and this pulls from our database and lists out all of the events as well as other information about them. And to the right of this, you see a form which allows people to submit events that they know about. And the purpose of this is so that we don't have events that are just pulled from the sites that we're scraping from, and allows us to have a diverse bank of events. So to demonstrate our API, we have Postman open up right here. And what we can do is send a GET request to our URL with the begin date of which is right now. Once we do a GET request, we will see all of the events that are within a week. That's the default if you don't specify end date. And similarly, we can also send a post request with a payload of Bitcamp. Let's say it's like tomorrow, and we send this. And then this sends, makes a post request. And then if we go back to our web app, and as you can see, I already filled in some information about the CS career fair. If we click submit, it'll send a post request. And then if we click see events, as you can see Bitcamp and the CS career fair.
So for our application architecture, our backbone of the event storage is done in DynamoDB. So we had a table storing all of the events at a time, and so we built a Lambda function to basically both update the table and to get events from the table, and we hooked up an API gateway to interact with the Lambda function so that people could use it to both create new events and then see which events there were in a specific time frame. We have a few ways of actually creating those events. One way is through our daily web scraper that we run. So the web scraper will just go out and pull any events it can find from the UMD calendar of events and then submit those to the API gateway request to post those events. Similarly, we have our front-end website where users can submit a form, and that form will then call the API gateway to create that event. And then the Alexa skill Lambda function will actually call the API gateway to poll for events on a certain time frame, and then use that to return it to the user.
So the Alexa skill was built using the Alexa Skills Kit, and our front-end web interface was hosted on Elastic Beanstalk. And both of these pull from the database using API gateway, just like Tal mentioned.
We didn't really anticipate many scalability concerns, but all of the services we used, such as Elastic Beanstalk, AWS Lambda, the Alexa Skills Kit, and DynamoDB, all of those automatically scale. So in the future, if there are a lot of users, then it should just automatically scale without having to worry too much about it.
So in terms of the challenges that we faced, there were a few. Initially, we had a lot of difficulties with the time and date. With any app that you're dealing with time and date, you have to deal with time zones, converting from strings to date objects and things like that. So we had to deal with a lot of these issues, and in the end, everything worked out. Cores also gave us some issues. Basically, when we were trying to send post requests to our API, sometimes it didn't work. So we were able to add a allow control or access control allow origin fix, and basically this allowed us to be able to submit those post requests.
Yeah, and our biggest time commitment really was the Alexa skill itself, because we hadn't really used it in a while. But we had a lot of issues with keeping track of state, essentially. So like when the events were outputted by the Alexa skill, how to keep track essentially of what was outputted so that the user doesn't have to re-say the name of the event, and they can just reference something that the Alexa said. And the Alexa Skills Kit doesn't automatically really keep track of that kind of stuff since it's stateless. So we had to play around with that to essentially get it to be sort of interactive, like a real human conversation.
And in terms of next steps, what we really wanted to do with this project is to incorporate machine learning and really categorize events and tailor them to the user's preference. So as you use the event Alexa skill more and more, Alexa would know exactly what types of events you're into and would be able to better recommend interesting events according to your skills. And we would also like to implement additional scraping. So right now we're only scraping from one data source, but there's tons of data sources out there that we can definitely scrape from. So those are two next steps for us.